Got it? Manhwa will never overtake manga, and that's the topic for today. Guys, welcome to Esoteric Debates, where we pretty much discuss a topic of our choice and we basically fight it out in real time. And the reason why we call it Esoteric Debate is, come on guys. The debate of the day, guys, I genuinely don't believe manhwa is gonna overtake manga anytime soon without the most craziest reforms, okay? The craziest reform. Korean culture must be reformed. Korean culture must be reformed. If you guys knew about the heyday of manhwa, you would know that it was not during this arc where we now have it in a webtoon format. The heyday of manhwa, in my opinion, my humble opinion, was when manhwa was black and white and it was in manga format, and that is when we had the best stories, okay? That is when we had actual manhwa that could last longer than 300 chapters. We can't even get that anymore. Guys, we literally can't get that anymore. Capitalism. Guys, capitalism is destroying our people. Capitalism is literally destroying every single thing we like about manhwa, right? No one seems to care. These guys are just too brain rot. They want too much dopamine. There's too much dopamine in the systems of every flipping manhwa reader, right? To the point where they can't respect a good story, you know what I mean? All of this happened during what I like to call the Great Shift, okay? And if you guys want to know one thing about the Great Shift, it was not in like 2015, 2016 when we jumped into the webtoon format. It was specifically when solo leveling became popular. I'm sorry, solo leveling was one of the best and worst things to happen to the manhwa community. I'll give you guys a rough timeline of manhwa, isn't it? From my experience at least, isn't it? Because I've been reading for like a good couple years, you know? Okay, so pretty much I was like 6 years old and I was reading manga, right? One of my first mangas I ever read was Siren. I don't know if you guys ever read Siren before. It's P-S-Y-R-E-N, okay? Most of you guys haven't read that. It's a real OG, and I remember I was in the library. I was like 6 to 7, or like around 8. So I was in the single digits, isn't it? I was in the library, you know. I was a bit of a bookworm, you know, growing up, you know, as you can see by my frames, isn't it? Pretty much used to scavenge the manga section over there. To be more accurate, I was like around 9 years old, okay? And I picked up Siren, I picked up one called Toriko. If you guys know about Toriko, everybody must know about Toriko at this point. If you haven't, you should read it. It's like Shokugeki no Soma, but if they had hands. And I was reading Dragon Ball at the time. There's a period of time for all OG manhwa readers, yeah, where they were reading manhwa before they even knew what manhwa was, because at the time, manhwa was in manga format, isn't it? I remember I was reading one called Change Guy, pretty much about a kid who's getting bullied. Like basically a UFC fighter-esque character, human and weapon, muscular, ripped, shredded, can fight, can do pretty much every martial art known to man, right? And he's getting bullied by this weapon of a human. They end up switching bodies. So now this big guy who's a genius at fighting is in the wimpiest body, and then the wimp is now in the most overpowered body known to man, and they have to like survive in their own lives, and they both basically learn how to fight. Kid who's getting bullied has to learn how to utilize the body of like the overpowered fighter, and the guy who was the overpowered fighter has to become a good fighter, being like the worst bodies. And that went on for around 380 chapters, and I used to think that was a manga until I realized no, it was a manhwa and it was Korean. Then I read one called Youngbi the Invincible, which is a martial arts one I spoke about in another video earlier. It kind of spiraled into me reading stuff like The Breaker, which most of you guys probably have read, and if you haven't read it, you should read it, which is pretty good also. That's like the era of like black and white manhwa, you know, like one called Mujang, there's another one called like, I think called Mercenary Maruhan. The list goes on and on and on, but there's one clear thing, right? The stories were actually good. The stories were so good that it's kind of indistinguishable from manga, you know what I mean? Like, we're getting actually good stories here. Then there's what I like to call the webtoon shift. So we went from black and white manhwa to webtoon was, isn't it? Of course, webtoon's been around for quite a while, isn't it? But that's like what I like to call it. It's like one of the first shifts, isn't it? So you got the Tower of Gods, you got the Sweet Boys, Wow, crazy. Please edit that out, okay? But we had Sweet Home, Unordinary, we had God of High School, Epics of Gilgamesh, Ember Knight. These stories were still good. They were in different format from the old ones, but they were still good. And here's my major gripe. When solo leveling came and introduced us to dungeons, not introduced us, but it popularized it. There's another one called Soul Necromancer, which came out, I think, before solo leveling. And the moment it popularized it, Capitalism destroyed manhwa. Capitalism single-handedly wussied and wussied us. It somehow ended up becoming a mukbang. My point was, capitalism post-solo leveling destroyed manhwa completely. Manga has too much infrastructure that is built for making high quality stuff. Okay. Of course, there is a lot of brain rot in manga. If you look at the isekais, for example, isekai has a whole lot of ass. It has infrastructure which allows it to last a long time. When I mean last a long time, I don't mean the industry, I mean the actual series. Mangas can go on for 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1000 chapters without losing quality, okay? Without losing quality. Look at Kingdom, that's like 800 chapters, okay? Hajime no Ippo, over 1,000. One Piece, over 1,000. Naruto, over 800. Every good manga, for example, right? Every good manga can go on for a long period of time. The same can't be said for manhwa, especially since the Great Shift. These guys can't plan ahead. These guys will plan the first 50, 60 chapters to get you hooked, okay? To get sales, to get readership, and they want the short-term money. They want short-term money, okay? They want to know what works, how can we really rinse this genre or this series. That's why web novels, high-key, the majority of them are ass. They can't last long. Of course, you got Shadow Slaves, you got Lord of Mysteries, you got all of these which are very long running, isn't it? But the majority of web novels and manhwas specifically, they're planned out for the first few arcs, but God knows how it's gonna end. Only God knows. God knows. Manhwas are too reliant on studios like Reader's Studio and all these other studios, right? They will only pick up things which are popping. They don't want to pick up things that are unique or have objectively good stories. They want to pick up where the fire is really burning hot. So it's very hard to get a trailblazer or a unique concept coming out from manhwa. The same thing can happen in manga. Of course, you got your shonens, you got this, you got that. These guys are too money hungry. Capitalism, and these Koreans capitalism, specifically South Korean capitalism, is the reason why manhwa will never be as good quality as manga. And yes, I made a video on TikTok saying that manhwas can compete. If we're gonna be honest, and if I'm gonna take back a few of my words, slop in anime, like the isekai genre, there's going to be slop in manhwa. But manhwa easily competes with the best manga, and 100% competes with the best light novels. You got Change Guy, Epics of Gilgamesh, Ember Knight, Shotgun Boy. Please taste my food. Guys, we're gonna do a quick taste test because I haven't even tasted my food yet. Wow! Subarashi! Sugoi! Okay, that was very cringe. All that skin gone with one bite. As I was saying, the manhwa infrastructure is not built for having long-running series which stay high quality and are consistent. Okay, you can't have physical copies of manhwa. You can't even get physical sales. So the only way these guys can make money is a lot more limited than manga. So that's another reason why they're probably more money hungry. It's harder to make money because the formats don't tie up. There are no double spreads in manhwa than there are in manga. You can't compete with manga. It's gonna have to create its own lane and hope. Pray that the infrastructure can catch up. Of course, manhwa is a lot younger than manga. Manga's been on for 45, 60 years, right? Another reason why I believe manhwa will never overtake manga is because these authors in Korea, they live the saddest lives, I think. All of them are self-inserts. The entire manhwa community and manhwa culture is built around progression in the easiest formats. The whole regressors, systems, even the romances are filled with self-inserts. Basically live through their own stories. A plot which is objectively just ass. They will do anything to get your dopamine. For example, there is one called Rooftop Sword Master. Rooftop Sword Master might literally be the worst written story I've ever read. There was a kid that got brutally bullied, okay? And he's getting bullied by rich and powerful children. So these children are the son of conglomerates, politicians, businessmen, the people that control society, like puppeteers, And then one day a sword falls from the sky and he starts training with that sword. And that sword has the effects of giving him steroids, anabolic steroids. That sword pretty much gave the guy so much power that he went from being the skinniest creature into being Dwayne The Rock Johnson. That is all the plot was. That is all the plot was. You're getting bullied, a sword comes, now he's getting revenge on the bullies. When he gets the revenge on the bullies, all the writing went out of the window. It went from here to outside. It's gone. The writer just felt like he himself the guy got his revenge in the most brutal fashions, and all he was doing was just fighting, killing people. Kill this guy, kill that guy, kill that guy, kill that bully, kill that bully. Oh wait, your dad is a politician. Your dad wants to talk smack to me. Kill that bully, kill his dad, kill his mom, and then all it was just carnage of the guy finding every bully and just killing them in the most brutal ways possible. But because he has a big sword and he's a huge Hulk kind of creature, right? The army wants to kill him now, okay? Secret Services want to kill him now. And what does he do? He kills Secret Services now. He goes kill the army now. It just became a shit show of just nothing but carnage and violence. That's all it was. Nothing but carnage and violence. I will never forget when this guy went to I'm pretty sure it was like some underground facility, bro. Because all of the bullies, they needed to hide. They needed to hide from this monstrous creature, which was the main character, right? So they go to some underground facility. This guy went in and killed so many people that the collateral damage did not even, it didn't make sense. There was no plot behind it. It was just guys fuming that he got bullied, and then he just ended up using that sword to basically kill every single person he could find, get his hands on that were involved within the bullying, and anyone that got caught in the crossfire would have to hold it by association. This guy was literally living a world where his collateral damage is just numbers to him. Just tick boxes, okay? But then the story got so convoluted, I would genuinely sat down like this. Stroking my beard, thinking to myself, did the author get bullied? Did the author himself get bullied, and now he's trying to live in a fantasy through his own work at the expense of any character-driven writing, okay? And then once that thought entered my brain, it all clicked together. Every single manhwa, or most manhwas, are filled with authors that hated their own lives and they're trying to live through their main character. So that's why Sun Jin-woo is probably the biggest aura farmer of all time. Why? Because the author hates his own life. That's why. There's no message within these manhwas, right? Or most of them. It's just full of authors that had enough of their own lives and they want to live through their characters. For example, have you guys ever read a finance manhwa before? This guy will go back in time into his younger body just so he can buy Bitcoin. What kind of author would write that? One filled with regrets. One filled with so much pain from not buying Bitcoin when it was told $5 that he's gonna write a story of somebody that did. Guy will go back in time 10, 15 years and somehow this guy's brain is a supercomputer. His brain, it has 1 million billion terabytes of data of every single stock that has ever come out. Every single stock that has ever come out. He will know that and go back in time because he dies, gets hit by a truck, usual truck-kun isekai nonsense or regressive nonsense, okay? And what does he do? He invests in stocks. Does that seem like an author that cares about the story? Or does that seem like an author that had living with regrets? Somebody gotta say it. If you look at the Korean bullying ones, or like the high school ones, it's the same ish. These bread shuttles, I guarantee most of these authors were bread shuttles at one point. What do? They get a kid that was getting bullied, and now he's become the most most violent, most capable person of all time. I don't even need to name these tropes, but that is just what they are. That is literally what they are. You can't compare them kind of stories to manga, I'm sorry. We love them, but they're just full of self-inserts. And the people that really love these stories, I'm sorry, they're just people that get dopamine from it. I'm sorry. There's one called Bones. There's a manhwa called Bones. I'm sorry. Bones had one of the worst plots I've read in my life, bro. I'm sorry. And I won't even explain the plot for that one this time. I won't even explain the plot for that one. If you want to read it, go read it. You'll understand what I mean. All it is injecting you with dopamine. Okay? But these tropes and authors who are self-inserts, they are going to be the bane. They're going to be the bane. They're going to be the bane for the manhwa community. They're going to be the bane for all of us. They're going to destroy us, okay? They're going to destroy us. our neurons, our attention spans, our dopamine receptors, every single path, like every single pathway within our minds, okay, are going to get fried. We're going to get fried because of these soft inserts, okay? So yes, that being said, I'll be very honest with you. Although manhwa probably will not overtake anime or manga in terms of quality, it is still one of the funniest pieces of medium that I've ever witnessed. Honest to God, you will never get tropes that are funnier than manhwa compared to any other kind of fiction out there. Where else are we gonna get brain rot? The manhwa brain rot is so elite, it is still dear to our hearts. At the end of the day, manhwa is a lot funnier to laugh at than anime or manga. The tropes are just genuinely hilarious. Where else are we gonna get brain rot regresses? Where else are we gonna get a manhwa cultivator type brain rot going on, okay? Where we've got the young master causing nonsense in every restaurant that he enters, or you see in these Korean high schools where the bread shuttle just going off a bread like this, to the bully who's always wearing Adidas sliders and a North Face jacket or maybe a Gucci jacket, you know. Where else are we gonna get the most funniest capitalist and nonsense in the stock market manhwas or the finance ones? Where else are we gonna get the mafia manhwas where you find a random gangster just get stabbed in the streets, he regresses into a new body, and now his mom somehow owns a restaurant and just gets bullied all the time and terrorized inside the restaurant? Or you have his dad who's missing, his sister has a terminal illness. Like, these tropes are so repetitive, but they're just genuinely entertaining. But you can't deny the entertainment value that we get from manhwa. Ain't that right? Okay, no, I won't do that. I might voice over him talking, isn't it? But you will never find a medium more entertaining than manhwa. The tropes are genuinely hilarious. Where else are you going to find cultivation brain rot or like martial arts brain rot, where you have the young master from a prestigious clan causing all sorts of nonsense at all times for no reason? Where are we gonna find the finance manhwas where we have those brain rot stock investors inside of Wall Street dying, coming back to a new body and buying Bitcoin at $10 and investing in every stock the author wish that he invested into? Where else are you gonna find the most funniest mafia stuff, right? Where we have these random guys that just get stabbed in the back of an alleyway. For some reason, Korea doesn't have guns, so all the mafia just end up using their fists instead, okay? You have the guy's mum inside of a restaurant who's slaving away 72 hours a day just to get bullied by loan sharks who give her the most extortionate prices, okay? They give her the most craziest interest rates. His sister has a terminal illness, his dad is also missing. Where else would we have the most funniest regression stories where the main character just gets put into the weakest body with no testosterone, you know? Like, we may shot on, I may like say manhwa will never be anime or manga in terms of quality, but at the end of the day, anime or manga will never be as entertaining as what we have right now. And if you haven't been reading manhwa, and if you haven't been reading these kind of webtoons, you're missing out on the most quality entertainment, okay? On the most quality entertainment. And I genuinely mean that. That's why this community that we're building right now is just one that we just talk about the series that we read, or like the things that we like or we don't like, the funny tropes. We do it in skits, we do it in so many different formats, isn't it? We even have our own anime opening. Where else are we going to find these kind of tropes? Nowhere. Honest to God, there is no place better than manhwa when you are talking about entertainment. That is why when I did violate Solo Leveling, when it came to the plot, you can't deny how entertaining Solo Leveling is. The aura farms are just unruly. Like, they're just unjustifiable aura farms. There's no need to justify it with plot. The guy just has aura, and there's nothing wrong with that, you know? There's nothing wrong with that. So before these anime guys think I'm on their side when they talk bad about Solo Leveling, saying Solo Leveling has bad writing. Solo Leveling doesn't need to have good writing or bad writing. It just needs aura farms, because that's what we're there for. It's genuinely been a pleasure interacting with all of you guys in the server and on the TikTok comments. So genuinely have fun watching this all grow and build, isn't it? If you guys like seeing my face on your screen, press the like button, subscribe also. We're going to hit 1 million subscribers at some point. Cue the outro.
星空の下で周波は立ち上がるでしょう無限の空を切り裂く刃で影の中の